Hello everybody and welcome to Cape Town TV, and of course it is Cape Rugby TV as we do Wednesdays at 9 o'clock, and it's live. So many of you have been asking for a live feature and now we've got it, finally. Last week was a big hit, everybody went crazy about the fact that we got rugby coverage in Cape Town, and now it is here, so we are live. So if you're around the Facebook area or you're close to your handset and you're on Twitter, please send us a couple of tweets or Facebook messages. We're looking to give you a plug during the course of the show. Of course, coming up, we'll do the logs, the results and the fixtures. We'll speak to Joey Salmon about one of the laws in rugby. We'll of course also be speaking to Anthony Eldman from Retreat. That club is now 113 years old. We'll look at the history of Retreat as we do every week. We certainly don't want to forget about our clubs and the legacy of those clubs. And don't forget our sponsors, Evox and the Leisure Group. During the course of the show, we'll give you an opportunity to win some fantastic prizes. And all you need to do is SMS to that number 32010. I'll tell you more about that during the show. Esteemed guests on the panel tonight, as usual, Herman Abrams, Deputy CEO of Western Province Rugby. Hello, Hermie.
Good evening.
Looking very mafioso tonight.
Let's leave it there.
We'll just leave it there. Yeah. And the old crew is back. Egan Seconds, nice to have you here.
Thanks for inviting me finally, Japes.
Finally, yes. And Morgan Newman, nice to have you, my man.
Hello, Japes. Thanks for having me.
We've got to grab this opportunity while you're in Cape Town.
Yeah, make the big trek back to Bloemfontein on Friday. So, yeah, good to be here. Thanks.
100%. Right, folks, let's get the ball rolling straight away. Let's take a look at some of the results over the weekend. Belhar, 26, going down to False Bay, 28-26 there. A nice result for False Bay, Mr. H. They've been working harder, and I suppose Belhar must be a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, but I think it's a very good result for Belhar also. It shows, they won 2 games in Super League. They're newcomers. That was a very close result that would have gone either way. So they're showing that they can compete at that level.
Which is what we were hoping to see, that when you come up to Super League from any other division that you pull it through. Egan, would you agree with me that you've got to spend time in the league above you to make sure that you start getting a feel for it?
Yeah, especially as newcomers. I mean, yes, they've won 2 games, but the other games they've lost were all close results. So it's good for the club to see that. They just need to come off on the winning side of those close ones. Hopefully that later in the season, especially the second round, they can put up a bigger fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, folks, you'll remember we had Marvin Swartboy in studio, one of our regular guests here, and he'll be happy with the following result. Durban beating Helderberg, 45 points to 23. Morgs, you've played against Helderberg a few times in your time, and of course against Durban as well. I know that you played many years for Mighties. Both of them are fairly strong clubs, but a good result there for Helderberg, for Durban, 45 points.
Yeah, look, it's not easy to go down to Helderberg and get a result. So Durban will be very excited about that result. I think, they're looking good, and they got 2 or 3 games left. So yeah, there's no reason why they can't pull off 1 or 2 more results like that one.
Ian, let's take a look at Hamilton's up against Villages over the weekend. This was our feature match this weekend. Folks, we took a minute to go down to Brookside, where we watched Hamilton's take on Villages. Villages, of course, had home ground advantage. Didn't quite work out to their advantage. Have a look at this. Peter de Villiers, coach of Villagers. Tough game today, huh?
Yeah, tough times at the moment for the club. Testing times. I think in the first 20 minutes defensively we made some errors that cost us dearly, and then on the whole, in general, execution-wise, we lots of errors and decision-making errors.
Yeah.
I think the guys did empty their tank, but we just couldn't get going through phase play. Lots of execution errors, which cost us dearly.
That was a bit tough. I thought Hemis came out firing nice and early, and game went away too early, and we couldn't get back to it. Definitely not a chance that we'll get relegated, but we're working to get into the top 3 spots. Looking forward to that and see how it comes along later in the season.
Any win against Villagers, really appreciated. The guys went out today, and I think they played fantastically well.
Yeah.
Especially the first 20-25 minutes of the game, we had a bit of a purple patch. Managed to get a 20-point lead, and Village came back hard, but we stuck to our guns, defended really well.
Ons het daarom 'n goeie begin gehad, goed afgekom en paar punte op die bord gekry. So die forwards het vir my goed gedoen.
So die bonuspunt vanaand was nogal belangrik.
Baie vital. Ja, hoe gouer ons die bonuspunte inry, hoe beter, hoe minder druk. So.
It was a great game. I predicted it would be a hard game, and I think the guys just left it all on the field there, which was really good. And it was also a clean game, so it was easy for me to ref, so I enjoyed it.
I must say I'm very impressed with the standard of rugby that we've had here today, and it's been really good, and I see that it looks like a very physical game. If you want to become a serious player, you got to train hard and work hard. There's nothing about, you can't do anything without hard work, and that's the biggest thing. And stay focused, and just enjoy the game too.
I've looked at the Hemis team. I must say they massive pack of forwards, and we have to look at the way to negate that pack of forwards. We've got a run of 3 wins in a row, so it's going quite well at the moment for us. You must see Hamilton is playing for the club champs, and we're playing for our own pride. They've beaten us over the last 2 years, so.
Well, there we go. Hamilton's up against Villagers at Brookside. Egan, you're playing in Hemis at the moment. A 30 points to 6 win for Hemis over Villagers. Anton Morvan must be happy right now.
Yeah, at the moment, they're doing the job. I mean, everybody else has finished the first round, so Hamilton's a bit under pressure. I must say that Villagers pulled that game back nicely because it was 20-0 with 20 minutes into the game, so it looked like Hamilton's was going to run away with it. And Villagers pulled it back nicely. I mean, the second half, they came back to about 20 points to 6. And looked like if they needed one more score, they'll be back in it. And then, fortunately for Hamiltons, they scored the bonus point try after that.
They seem to be completely focused on chasing Marty's down at the moment, trying to get to the top of the log. Huh?
Yeah, because Marty's is laying on top. They've played all their games so far. Hamilton's got 3 games left, and they need, from the next 3 games, I think they need 13 points to secure club champ spot. So the pressure is on. I mean, you don't need anybody else to do the job. Hamilton's knows what needs to be done now.
Folks, many of you might not know, but I've got a Springbok on the panel here, being Morgan Newman, and of course Egan Seconds himself played Springbok Sevens for a long time. So these guys have played from the lowest league all the way up to the highest league. Egan, I've got to ask you though, I mean, the Hamiltons, do you think they're going to be our next province? Because it's certainly starting to look like they've only got provincial players in that team.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of players there that would turn down any contract from any provincial side at the moment. But, James, in the Super League now, the teams, it's forced to go professional in that way. To keep the players, with the amount of players moving around so much. And to stay competitive in this league, you need to look after your players firstly and make sure they're compensated, because anywhere else they're going to go for the money.
Yeah, 100%. Mr. H, I've got to come to you now. I mean, we were at the side of the field there, and it was a simple scenario of, really False Bay, at least not False Bay, but the match at Villagers and Hamiltons, a derby match, the 2 oldest clubs in the country, and there was really not many spectators there. What is going on? I mean, NNK Tigerberg, the week before, we saw a couple of thousand spectators there. What's going on at the higher leagues?
I think maybe, it is a matter of the people that support there are not used to some of the players there. In the other leagues, those are families that come there. They come, and the players have grown up in the clubs. The Hamiltons, a lot of the players are new. They come here. They have no families, they have no other people around that follow them. And in rugby, it's all about the family and the community following you. Maybe Hamiltons and villages must look at that part also.
Maybe it's time to, I suppose that's what each club has to do. They've got the responsibility to keep that database going and keep that vibe going. I mean, I didn't see any braai vleis there. I didn't see any hot dogs for sale. There was some woman selling coffee on the side of the road. I saw a lot of Gauteng registered BMWs trying to drive up the wrong road, but of course those BMWs were very polished there. Let's look at some of the other results quickly before we go to an ad break. In Super League B, NNK drawing with Belleville 28 all. Hands and Hearts were going down to Tigerberg 38 points to 12. I know the boys will be happy about that. Young Peoples beating Collegians 20 points to 17, and Kales River going down to Brackenfell 34-30. In Premier League A, as we take a look at some of the results there, Kraaifontein 32-24, Paarl going down to Hamlets 24-17, St George's a nice result for them, 14-10 over Rangers, and another enormous win for Goodwood, 73-14 over Lunga, and Scott Steens beating Stelkor by 8 points, 25-17. In Premier League B, Strand United went down to Milnerton 17-12, and Solarians drawing with Macassar 17 all. In Division 1, Busy Bees went 5 points up over Hamadeers. Young Stars went down to Young Wesleys 29-13. Raithby Universals went down to Northerns 15-12. Kylemore drawing with Strand. Ball Rangers 15 down to Eerste Rivers 24. In Division 2, Temperance, a 1 point win for them over Atlantis. Rocklands 27-17 over All Saints. Whistling Wheels 17, Blue Stars 38. It looks like the wheels are still off at Whistling Wheels, but I'm sure they'll get them back on track pretty soon. And Manenberg Rangers, nice result for them over Blue Jets, 10 points to 3 with Watsonia. A big win for them, 50-14 over Strand Pioneers. Let's look at Division 3 now, and the results in Division 3. Bishop Labours going down to Violets, 47-10. Caledonian Roses, 6-0 over Young Ideas. In Division 4, Cities going down to Khayelitsha, 34 points to 0. And Imikawi beating Thistle 24-18. And of course, we don't forget the Paarl region ever. Let's take a look at the results in Paarl. Parel United going down to Young Standards 25-3. Vineyards 25-17 loss for them against Lower Paarl. Vintmill United drawing with Albions 0-0. Although I must query that result. And Simondium 20-point win for them over Allendale, while Young Gardens unfortunately went down 13-26 to Riverstones. Yeah, when we get back, we'll take a look at some of the logs. Of course, many of the teams went up, some went down. It'll be interesting to see who's chasing who. We'll be back in a mo. Welcome back, everybody. We're, of course, live on Cape Town TV here with Cape Rugby. Don't forget, you can catch us here live every Wednesday at 9 o'clock. Stay on Twitter and stay on Facebook. And, of course, those SMSs coming in a little bit later to win yourself some fantastic prizes. Mr. H, let's look at some of the logs here. Marties are still firmly on top of the log. UCT is sitting in second place. And Hamilton's making a big chase there.
Yeah, and Saturday, coming up, that will determine a lot of things. And I think it's strange that, having played their 9 games, they're still at the top, the 3 university teams. It shows that they did quite well in the first round. Yeah. Now, these other teams have 1 or 2 games, and then after that, there's 9 more till the end of the season.
How many games for each league?
18.
18. You're gonna play, and that's in the first half of the season.
No, that's
so in
total.
9. In total, okay. So each, and then of course you break for the half, and then you go through to the next half. Then, Morgie, let's ask you. I mean, you're playing up at the Cheetahs at the moment. You've played a lot of club rugby. We know that you played for Marties. For Marties to stay at the top, why is it that they're always at the top?
Look, I think they've got a great feeder through the Corsair's leagues and that kind of thing. And they're such a big club that, with injuries, I think a lot of clubs suffer. But with the fact that Maltese have so many players, I think they're the biggest club in the world or something. So with them having so many players, I think that there's always someone to replace the next guy.
Yeah.
And obviously with a lot of talent. But it's just good to see that, you know, there's sort of competition at the moment in the club leagues in Cape Town, because in the past it's been Maltese have dominated, and I think the people have stayed away because of the fact that Maltese just, you know, would walk any team they played against. Now that there's a bit more competition, I believe that they'll start getting a lot more people because of the fact that, you know, they sort of, it's not just a hands down, Maltese will walk every game they play. So to see Hamiltons and UCT giving them the run for their money is, I think it bodes well for Cape Town Club Rugby.
Do you think it's the money?
Look, money will always play a part, and I think some teams will come in and wanna, you know, sort of throw money around and get some of the top players. Like Egan said, I think Hamilton sits with a lot of quality players because of the fact that they're drawing them from other unions.
Yeah.
Or if they're not necessarily getting much game time at other unions, Hamiltons can offer them something that other teams necessarily can't.
Yeah.
And with the universities, you know, they can offer them education, which I think is important. But sometimes money talks. So it's interesting to see what other teams or businessmen are going to come to the party, and I think you'll see one or two other teams giving UCT and Maltese a run for their money in the coming years.
Yeah, speaking about universities, Egan, let me ask you, I mean, how much of a difference, and Hemmy's, like, for example, didn't have a chance to play in the Varsity Cup.
Yeah.
And this year you had, you had to take on the likes of UCT, and we had Kevin Musican from False Bay on the show,
yes,
talking about the advantages and the disadvantages of playing in the Varsity Cup.
Yeah.
But from a Hemmy's perspective, do you feel that Maltese or UCT had an advantage playing in the Varsity Cup?
I think with preparation coming into the league, yes, they did have an advantage, but you also look at the factor that these players play a lot of rugby, and it's hard rugby in the Varsity Cup. I mean, the first game of the league, Hamilton's played UCT, and we beat them on our home ground. And I use the saying it's not university rugby, this is big boy rugby, the Super League A, but it goes both ways. I mean, these guys, you know, you got to be, it's important to stay competitive. You know, you can use it as an excuse.
Yeah.
But to show that you're the best, you got to go through all these competitions. UCT came off winning the Varsity Cup, and then they lose their first game in the league, which was a setback. But a lot of guys, again, was pulled up into the provincial teams, and that's where the depth of these teams also gets tested.
One of the things that has been quite notable in any professional structure is that whenever they bring in a senior, I mean, I'll use, for example, a few years ago, you know, Rassie would, for example, bring in an international player to come and play, like Tony Brown. Tony Brown, who played for New Zealand, and he would come and he played fly off over here. You know, we all sort of, well, why? We've got enough depth here. Why don't we do it? But you know, the theory behind it apparently was that that you would learn from those kind of senior players who had played on an international space, and so the youngsters would actually learn. Chris Jack, there was another example, a more recent example. Now at Hammy's, which is pretty much a provincial setup. All the players there have either played for some or other province. Do those players take the time to teach the youngsters and the juniors?
You see, that's an individual thing, Jay. There's a lot of players who, by heart, loves giving back to the game. And then there's other players who it's not in their makeup. But I think it's important. I think with Hamilton's now having the junior structure, I think that's where it comes in, where as a senior player, these guys all look up to you. So I use myself as an example. For me to spend one afternoon with these kids changes their lives forever, basically. And Hamilton's has got this setup now, which is perfect. And they got the players that now, like you say, who prefers playing club rugby than provincial rugby, because they get looked after, and they're like a family, basically, which is important for a club like that. But I think that it shouldn't be enforced on a player, but it should be part of the structure, because that's how you build a successful club. It's from the grassroots level. If your juniors are seeing what the seniors are doing, they're going to want to do the same for the club. And I think that's important.
Well, personally, if I had my choice of spending money on a player, I would expect a little bit more from him than just playing the game. I want to be a team member and a member of that club and help him as contribute.
Yes.
And if not, you're just a nobody who comes to play
just
for 80 minutes and goodbye, we'll see you next time round. No one's going to remember you.
That's exactly right.
Morgs, we saw Rob Linder, former Stormers and Western Province rugby play on the footage there. He's also down in Cape Town for a couple of days, and we were lucky to catch up with him there at Villages. But there certainly seems to be an enormous difference between South African club rugby and French or English club rugby.
Yeah, look, Japes, I think the big difference between club rugby in South Africa and Cape Town and club rugby overseas is that overseas it's a business and it's fully professional. I mean, those guys, I think their squad is contracted. You look at the club rugby in Cape Town, and I think you've got probably Hamilton's might contract 1 or 2 players. I think the same with Marty's, and I'm not too sure with UCT. I speak under correction. But I mean, overseas, there's not a single French player that plays any sort of club rugby there without being contracted or without having some sort of security financially. So, I mean, you're gonna, number one, you're gonna get a big difference in level of rugby, and number two, I just think that in Cape Town, some guys can't make it because of work commitments, and you know, unless the Oaks being paid to play club rugby, for him to come in the evenings and train is sort of a, you know, it's a slap on his time when he's not getting anything out of it, sort of financially. So overseas, it's I think they've grown to where it's fully professional. I think things are going to change, but I think it's going to take a bit of time.
Right, folks, well, we did have a look there at Super League A. We'll, of course, look at more of the logs in the future. And you would have heard now that Hammies is chasing Marty's. Those are the focus points in Super League A. We'll move right along to some of our sponsored features right now. Of course, it's the Leisure Hotels, giving you an opportunity to win yourself some accommodation courtesy of the Leisure Group. All you need to do is send the word leisure to 32010. We run this competition every week, and you can do it continuously during the week, but the word leisure to 32010. We are, of course, live as we speak here. Send that word now, and you can put yourself in the mix to win yourself a fantastic prize courtesy of the Leisure Hotels, which we will be announcing next week. Last week's winner was, of course, Benjamin Marlowe. Benjamin, congratulations. Benjamin SMS the word leisure to 32010 and wins a night of accommodation at the Strand Towers Hotel here in City Centre. Fantastic hotel, and I think it's one of those places that you want to pop out and go and check out if you need some accommodation in Cape Town, or if you have got some visitors coming down from Cape Town. Mr. H, let's move to you now. It is time for our Q&A. Of course, couple of questions coming in. Yes, I know, you give me that funny look of wat gaan hulle my nou vra, wat sê nou weer, wie wil nou weer wat weet, maar dit is nou een van die kansies waar allerlei mense wat buite allerlei vrae gehad het van ja, maar die unie doen nie dit nie, of die unie doen nie dat nie, en whatever, hulle het nou hulle kans om 'n opportunity om vir jou te vra wat aangaan, en so mense, julle moet nou weet, dit is julle kans om vir ons op Facebook 'n boodskapie te stuur, of self op Twitter, of sommer vir ons te e-mail. En dan sal ons daai vrae aan die paneel of aan die unie stel. So moenie skaam wees nie, en dan na dit hoef julle nie weer te kla nie. Julle kan maar julle vragies vra. Ons gaan sommer direk na ons Facebook page toe, mense, en daai Facebook bladsy is www.facebook.com/Cape Rugby TV, and the first question that comes in is Georgina Samuels. Georgina asked a question, and thanks for this, Georgina, much appreciated. Hi JP, can't CTV show some of the games? That would be awesome. Yeah, Mr. H, you know, can we show some of the games? I suppose we have your permission, right?
Yes, you can do that, but
right.
It's the cost issue. That is your problem.
Yeah, right. So now he's putting Mr. H is, of course, putting the problem back to me, and I suppose I am the one that has to answer this question. Yes, we can show some of the games, but unfortunately, showing games costs money, filming games costs money, and we are in the process of trying to find more sponsors. And of course, we have to try and isolate which games, because you must remember there's something like, how many games on the weekend, Mr. H?
150.
150 club rugby games, not to mention high school and primary school, which is also part of the show. We still have to get around to that. So we will be showing games, and at the moment we're just taking featured games one at a time. And our cameraman Andrew went out to Villages and Hammies over the weekend and got some great footage there for us. And of course, Mr. H, where will we be this week?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, we are going to SK Warmers.
SK Warmers?
Yeah.
Taking on?
Hamilton's.
Aha! SK Warmers and Hammies. Egan, let's right up your alley. There's a bit of a derby match. We actually spoke to, who did we speak? We spoke to someone last week about this. It's virtually another derby match.
And there was one warm-up game we played against SK Warmers that got blown off because of a bit of a ruckus on and off the field. Yeah, misbehavior, let me put it that way. So, and at the time, Hamiltons were leading anyway, so let me just put that in there. But it's one of those games. I mean, everybody knows that Hamiltons are under pressure. SK Warmers needs the points also. And it's going to be one of those classics again that it's on the track. I've been getting my messages since Sunday already.
That's right. We had that's right. We of course had Munib Levy on the show. Just in the clip there, you would have seen Munib was talking about. And interesting that he was at the Villages Brookside game.
I take it as a sign that they're worried. But you know what, Jace? Everybody has a different perception of when you go play at the track. I love playing at the track because it brings out the best in me. When you got the crowd, this rowdy crowd and the threatening crowd, and a lot of players take it the wrong way. But me, I mean, that's the best time to show what you're worth.
But you've of course felt what it feels like to have a crowd of 50,000 people in a stadium. I mean, you understand how to block out the noise. I mean, Morgs, if yourself, from having played at all sorts of different levels, as a professional player, you need to be able to block it out, right?
Yeah, as much as the player's going to block it out, I think the ref's going to have to block it out. But I mean, look, I think it's a different crowd that you get at the track. But you know what? That's what makes club rugby so awesome in Cape Town. Yeah, and I think Hamiltons will get a good crowd wherever they go. They need 13 points from 3 games. So look, they're going to have to run the ball because they need a bonus point. And they're going to have to be, their defense is going to have to be tight. So it's going to be an interesting game. And I think your cameras will probably follow them around for the next 3 games.
Yeah, I must say, I get the feeling that the Esco Wolves isn't going to be too worried about anything except making sure Hamilton doesn't get a bonus point.
I'm just hoping they put the barriers further back from the touchline.
If you put some bales, straw, lots of straw around the field there, of course. And Evan Sean writes, Evan, thanks for your question on Facebook. Comes in tough, and of course, Morgs, let me ask you about this Belhar False Bay, another big one over the weekend. Yeah,
look, Belhar are new to Super League A, so I think it'll be a tough one. False Bay have been there now for a while, and they, sort of also looking to get a result. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, but yeah, I think I'll probably put my money on False Bay there. It'll be another interesting one, I think.
Well, of course, that result was last week. False Bay beating Belhar 28 points to 6. It looks like my Facebook messages come in the wrong sequence here. But always a tough one, Morgs?
Yeah, look, False Bay, I think now also same things happening in False Bay that's happening at Hamilton's. 1 or 2 players being bought, 1 or 2 businessmen coming in and dropping a little bit of cash around. So yeah, it's interesting.
Do you think this is the question of when you come up to Super League A, the businesses start paying attention?
Look, I think it's going to be when the money will start coming in is I think when the support increases, because that's the only way that they're going to get mileage out of their investments. So yeah, I think the more supporters that you get to the games, I think the more high quality players you'll get because of the money, and yeah, the sponsors will grow, and I think Marty's will see a few more guys than just UCT and Hamilton's.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. H. Belhar worked hard to get up there this season. How far away are they from landing a nice big sponsor?
No, I think they've just landed. Not a big sponsor, but they landed a sponsor. But I think what Morgan has said now, maybe Peter Juster won't agree because they draw a lot of people every week. They don't have a sponsor. They played Super League A. They're now heading Super League B. But yeah, we hope that people are watching and that this program will make it possible for people to see what's going on.
Why don't we have more games at Newlands, clubs playing at Newlands?
We can. If they will just agree to it. Everybody agrees, as long as it's not their home game.
Hang on, I'm not quite understanding this. We've got a lot of clubs saying we want to play at Newlands, but they don't want to play at Newlands if it's their home game fixture. You all seem to be readily, happily nodding. Is this a fact?
I mean, James, you get a team like we've talked about, maybe Tigerberg.
Right.
Who feeds off the crowd when they play at home.
Yes.
So they would rather play the away game at Newlands, which takes away the factor of the opponents having that advantage.
That's interesting.
And the gate.
And the gate fees.
And the gate fees, of course, they get to keep the money.
They don't have a big sponsor, like Mr. A said. So they need to get funds from wherever they can. And I mean, Mr. A said that they pull so much of the crowd. And that's what we spoke about, the community-based teams. And it's actually that family-orientated feeling about it.
Totally. That was your left field question, folks. Of course, left field there coming off the website from Kappa. Some fan pics that then came in over the week on Facebook. Let's have a look at some of the fan pics then that came in. And of course, folks, you can send us your pictures on Facebook. It's as easy as this. This pic came in from Carla Norkier. This was the Brackenfell thirds versus the Kales River thirds. Fantastic picture there from Carla. I mean, there's a lovely line-out jump. And nice, Carla. Thank you very much for that. Let's look at some of the other sponsorships that we have on the show now. Evox Advanced Nutrition is, of course, the official sports nutrition supplier to Western Province Rugby and the DHL Stormers. And on a weekly basis, we give you an opportunity, just like the Leisure Group hotels, we give you an opportunity to win yourself 500 Rands worth of vouchers, courtesy of Evox. All you need to do is SMS the name of the official supplier of the Vodacom Stormers to 32010. What is the name of that sports nutrition company that I just mentioned? SMS that word to 32010 and you could win yourself 500 Rands worth of Evox Sports Nutrition vouchers. And remember, as a club rugby player or as a school rugby player or any club that's affiliated to Western Province Rugby, you are entitled to sponsorship rates through Evox. Just go and ask your coach. In actual fact, ask your coach why he has not told you yet, seeing as everybody else knows it. Our winner from last week was V van Skalkwyk. Congratulations, V. You win yourself 500 Rands worth of Evox products. And I'm sure Evox will be in touch with you shortly to find out how to deliver that to you. Don't forget, folks, just send that word to 32010 and you could be in the mix to win yourself 500 Rands worth of Evox products. When we get back, we'll be hooking up with Joey Salmon, one of South Africa's top referees. Of course, refereed the match between Hammies and Villages over the weekend. So we're going to tweet some about Egan and Cape Rugby Q&A. I see here that the fourth wise man, which was of course retweeted by Egan Seconds himself, is that Egan Seconds is Hammies' very own Sonny Bill Williams. So we'll talk about that in a couple of seconds time. In a mo or so we will be getting to some of the law features. Some of the other tweets that came in was from Bradley, saying that, and also he copied in Bok Rugby and SA Club Rugby, and that he is watching live right now. Hello, Bradley. And then from the fourth wise men, Cape Rugby Q&A, ask Egan about his boxing career. Again, another retweet there about the fact that he is Hammies' own Sonny Bill Williams. Morgs, let me ask you, Sonny Bill Williams, is he all that it's cut out to be?
Look, JP, I think he's a great...
I'm not talking about the Hammies of Sonny Bill Williams now.
I was about to talking about Egan. No, look, Japes, I think he's a great player. I think he's got a lot of weaknesses. Obviously coming from, from a different code. I'm sure that there are a few teams that have found out his weaknesses. But all in all, I mean, you've seen him. His performances have spoken for itself. He's a great player, and I mean, he's only in the game, just over a year now. So, I mean, he's still new to rugby, if you want to call it that.
Let's see if his knees can hold.
Give him 2 or 3 years. If his knees hold, then I think, he'll be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully he gets some tougher fights than he's had of late with his 45-year-old disabled opponents in the ring with him. But nevertheless, it's time for us to move our attention now to the laws. Joey Salmon joins me again. Hello, Joey.
How's it, JP?
How was that match then between Villages and Hammies?
It was awesome. It was a great game, just what I thought it would be. Hard.
Yeah, always
I don't think the score actually reflected the game.
Yeah.
It was a very good game of rugby.
Yeah, nice to see that sort of standard rugby you've been playing.
Yeah, no, as I said to you last time, I think I prefer reffing Western Province Super League than Vodacom Cup.
Yeah.
Because it's better, I think.
Well, I must say, my congratulations to you. I was standing on the side of the field. One doesn't often hear the referee talking when one watches the big games, when you're doing test matches or provincial matches. And it was fantastic to see how you kept the flow of the game going. Yeah. So that was very nice. We've got a couple of laws that we're looking at tonight, Joey. Maybe you can just tell us, what are we looking at tonight?
I wanted to look at the tackle, because I think it's one of the areas and the players. I hear Morgan and Egan will tell you the tackle area seems to be a bit of a grey area for the players.
Yeah.
I think the referees understand it just the way the law wants us to. And then I'll just, the definition is when a ball carrier is held by one or more opponents and brought to ground. That's it, simple.
All right, so let's have a look at our first clip here. Our first clip is where we show the assistant tackler. Have a look at this, folks.
The white player going is then tackle, check the red player. There's no rolling, no releasing, and there comes the penalty.
All right, let's take a look at the next clip then, and the next clip is holding on the quick whistle. So the player's running with the ball and he goes ground.
There was the assistant tackler was there you see, he could play the ball, but there was a lot of other people coming, so you would just play a quick whistle, blow it rather, scrum it rather. It's easier that way.
And in this clip here, we see the player going off his feet.
Yeah, white carries the ball, check the red players. They go off their feet on the other side of the ball. They should be rolling away according to the law. They don't. And in my opinion, it should have been a penalty to white. The referee decided to play on.
Right, now next clip is of course, in that scenario was of course rolling away. The tackler needs to roll away once he has made the tackle. Yes. But Joey, what is it that comes up most? I mean, is this an area that is in black and white, or is this a grey area, can confuse players?
I don't think so. I think the law is quite specific. If you're a tackler, you've got certain things you need to do. So you need to release the player, you need to roll away, and you need to get on your feet.
What if you can't release the player? Like if you're tackling a player and someone then comes and binds on top of you, so to speak?
I think it's the judgment of the referee. In that situation, I would probably go quick whistle, scrum for the attacking team, the team carrying the ball, because you can see that the player is entrapped, he can't get out. So what's the use of giving a penalty then?
Is that where they refer to things like the squeeze ball, where the player is supposed to try and squeeze the ball back?
Well, the squeeze ball is normally where the guy goes down. I think Morgan's done a couple of those before, where the ball's under his chest and under his stomach, and he pushes it out again. In schoolboy rugby, that's totally forbidden. We don't, because it's quite a dangerous position to have your body in.
Right. Yeah. And then, of course, the other question that I needed to ask you was, we talk about the second tackler coming to the ruck. Within what distance do you have the right to clean a player out that does not have the ball? Because that's a part of the rugby that I've actually never understood. I've never understood how you're able to do a full-on hit into somebody that actually doesn't have the ball.
Close proximity is what we talk about.
Right. But now you see your proximity, my proximity, and Bakis's Buerta's proximity is a different thing.
Within a meter.
Within a meter?
Yep.
All right.
We're talking about a meter box. So where the tackle happens, within that meter, you can clean out anybody who plays the ball. But you do find that some people will go extend a meter to 1.5 meters, 2 meters. That's foul play.
And in some cases, even up to 45 meters.
Well, you do find those. You do find those.
So is it something that while you're in the middle of the game, you'll try and coach the player through it?
Well, if I pick up one, I'll probably let it go. But I'll chat to the player as the play continues. Say, you've extended your 1 meter, so try and keep it within the meter. Okay. Once the player realizes that you've seen what he's doing, they tend not to do it again.
And explain the tackle assist law to us, or the incident there, please.
Tackle assist, which is the one I think that the players and the public really don't understand. If you make a tackle, if you take a ball carrier and you bring him to ground, but you do not go to ground, you're not deemed to be a tackler. You're on your feet. You are not deemed to be a tackler assist. Okay. So you assist. You're actually not a tackler. But you must do exactly what the tackler has to do. You've got to release him, you've got to release the ball, and then what they call chicken wings or daylight before you can go back in and play the ball again. Majority of the players just play. They make the tackle and take the ball.
Right, I mean, we quite often see those sort of double sandwich tackles nowadays, and that makes you, as the assisting tackler, it puts you in exactly the same spot as the first-time tackler.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that sums it up nice and clearly. The other thing was, at which stage is it a legal turnover?
If you arrive at the tackle and you were arriving player, you were on your feet, then you've got the right to play the ball. If you came obviously through the gate from your side, and if you come and the opponents come and he then binds on you, but your hands were on the ball first.
Right.
You get the right to play that ball. So that's normally where the turnover happens. The referees don't shout, release the ball or leave the ball. You were the first guy there, you got a right to play it, so therefore you can play the ball, and that's where the turnovers normally happen.
And from the time of going to ground, if I get the ball and I go to ground, how much time do I have? You see Richie McCaw doing it, or some other players. People love to use Richie McCaw's name as the world's best professional infringer, where he'll take the ball and he'll go to ground, but he'll really, really slowly put it out at the back there. Yeah. How much time have you got to go to ground and put the ball down?
Well, you kind of have the time. Your time is depending on the next guy who's arriving from the opponent. So if you go down and you don't have time to place it, but the opponents have a player on his feet to play the ball, you've got to release the ball. You don't have a right to that ball anymore. But if the tackler is still there, not rolling away, the benefit will normally go your way because the tackler didn't roll away. So basically, when you go to ground, the ball has to go immediately because the law says the tackled player, the guy who's carrying the ball, he's got his options, and one of his options is to push the ball away. But he's got to be allowed to do that. That's why the tackler has to give him that space to do it. Okay. But if somebody from the tackler's team is on his feet and comes to the gate and wants to play the ball, he's got no right. He's got to give the ball to him.
He's got to let it go.
Yeah, he's got to let it go. That's why you'll see the penalties for holding on.
All right, and push that too much, and it could be a yellow card penalty.
Yeah, it depends.
Yeah. Yeah, it depends on Joey's mood on the day. Joey, thank you very much for that. We'll of course be chatting to you on a regular basis about some of the laws, and I think it's fantastic to have your expertise on the show and to get the footage from you guys, and we can look at the laws and give that sort of advice to the players. So many guys in club rugby space don't necessarily get the sort of exposure.
Thanks,
folks. When we get back, it's time for us to take a look at our history feature. This week we'll be speaking to Anthony Elmerson from Retreat. Retreat is now 113 years old. Do not forget about the history of club rugby. Back in a mo. Hello everybody, welcome back here on Cape Town TV with Cape Rugby, and what a fantastic little laugh we just had off camera. So nice to have some of the old photographs in here, and I just actually had to push off a fish moth. Anthony Elmerson from Retreat joins me. Hello Anthony.
Hi JP.
Welcome to Cape Rugby here on Cape Town TV.
Thank you James.
Retreat, 113 years old.
That is correct JP. We were established in 1898. Actually, it was two teams, the Lakeside and United Rugby Football Club, that amalgamated, and thus Retreat was born, 1898.
1898. Do the kids of the club, do they know about the history of Retreat?
I think the guys that are working with them, well, quite senior guys, I think they are teaching them and showing them, because we've got quite a number of these photos up in the clubhouse. And every youngster gets a chance to come in and look at these photos.
And of course, during that time, you had plenty of heroes and role models and so forth. This, folks, you can see this photograph here is from 1950. Mr. Apollos played hooker there, and he was a springbok for the Saru as well.
Yeah, I think that was our only one that managed to make the Saru, and under his leadership, we actually won quite a number of trophies in each division.
It's fantastic. In 1919, or at least this was your centenary year, right? In 1998.
That is correct.
Also the executive there, some legends there, the centenary executive, folks. Look how old those photographs are. Can you believe it? Retreat's photo, the Commando Beker again. This must have been a big tournament then back in the day.
Yeah, we actually qualified in that same year to play the top 8 for the second time.
Yeah.
And we had quite a number of stalwarts.
Anthony, there are so many pictures here that I could go through. All historic pictures. I must say there's some fantastic hairstyles in this. Some of these guys, I'm sure, were in the Bruce Lee movies back in the day.
I think it might be the fashion of the Bruce Lee hairstyles.
Fantastic stuff. So if you just think back to the history of Retreat, and if you think back to some of the role models or people in the community that helped build Retreat and retain the structures, is there anyone that comes to mind?
Look, I've been with the club for the past 30 years, and we had the great J.B. Page.
Yeah.
Was actually the chairman, treasurer of the City and Suburban Sports Board, and it was at times our president, treasurer, secretary and coach, and I think he made really a big impact on my rugby at Retreat.
Yeah, 1963 folks, there you have it. There he is, J.B. Page.
He was also a Saru vice president.
And he was a vice president of Saru as well.
He was a very strong leader, very strong.
Yeah.
Well, he looked like he was a very strong man to begin with.
Front rower.
Front rower.
And an ex-teacher, principal too.
A lot of teachers that stay in the game.
That is correct, sir.
Yeah. And from a Retreat milestone point of view, the milestones, I mean, other than some of the people that stick out now, what would come to mind?
Look, like I said, I'm with the club 30 years in the early 1980s till 1990s. We actually had from our juniors till seniors playing finals every year on City Park. And it was actually, that's where we built our supporter base.
Yeah.
So for me, that was one of the highlights.
I've got to ask you, and I think one of the reasons why we focus on the history of club rugby is because some people have forgotten about club rugby, or at least old clubs that have existed, and there's only been focus on certain clubs. How did the apartheid era and the group areas and those terrible times, how did they affect Retreat?
I think we had players of great caliber, and had it not been, we could have competed with the best. And for us in the apartheid era, because we all played our rugby at City Park, our traveling was to a central point. Nowadays we need to travel all around the peninsula, and financial wise it's actually a burden to our club at present. So the rugby itself was of high standards, and my dad also played, and the rugby stories that I hear from our ex-players, it was quite good rugby.
I've spoken to Peter de Villiers, our Springbok coach, about this many times. Young Gardens, he was there, and he told me that in the days of apartheid, when things were so bad, Mr. H, maybe I should ask you this. It seems like rugby was the binding factor. It was one of those things that made the community still stick together and came together on the weekend.
Yeah, very much so. And rugby drew much bigger crowds than now.
Yeah.
Much bigger crowds. I mean, Anthony will tell you when you used to come to City Park, you don't get a seat on the stand. I remember when I went there as a youngster, you were not allowed to sit on the stand. Kids must play at the bottom. You can't go sit on the stand, and it was full. And Retreat, they got a great history. There's guys out of those teams, families, that have been there ever since. And the Pairs Buller, so they've got a jersey here, the purple jersey.
Yes, I see there. Yes, folks, you might want to just have a look at the back behind Mr. H there, that purple jersey. That is, of course, Retreat's jersey. Anthony, let's quickly ask you just a final question. Where to for Retreat from here? And will you keep trying to remind the youngsters about the history of Retreat?
I think that will be an ongoing thing, and again, financially wise, it's always a challenge. And again, we've got quite a number of youngsters, teams and senior teams participating in the Western Province competitions.
Well, I must say, Anthony, to you and the team there, you guys so far in our history feature have brought the best photographs.
Thank you, Jake.
Folks, of course, our history feature this week, it was with Anthony Elmerson from Retreat, and some really fantastic photographs here. Remember, if you've got any pictures like this, please let us have them. Please let us know about it. We want to not forget anything about club rugby, especially some of the older clubs. It certainly looks like Retreat was dominating back in the day, back in 1968, winners of the Shield and the knockout competition. So some fantastic memories there, the likes of what I need to be told about and educated about, which is why we do this show. When we come back, we'll wrap it up and take a look at the fixtures coming up over the weekend. Back in a mo. Of course, wrapping it up now, Egan's seconds. Very best of luck for your rest of the endeavours at Hammies.
Thank you very much.
Morgie, let's get you back in Cape Town soon, eh? Finish up with that cheaters rubbish over there now.
Yeah, hopefully, James. I'd love to come back, so hopefully soon.
We want all our local talent back here, Springboks and all.
I'd love to be back here.
Mr. H, it's a big game this weekend. SK Warmers take on Hammies at the track.
Yes.
3:30.
3:30, all the games start. There's only a few games, but that's the big one. Because of the game at Newlands, they start early.
Okay, so there you have it, folks. They are starting early this week. And the other quick look at some of the other fixtures, and not a lot of fixtures this weekend because of that match. Then SK Warmers up against Hamilton's, 3:30 at the track, starting early because of the match at Newlands. NNK against Brackenfell. These are our pick of the week fixtures. Lower Paarl against Simondium in the Paarl region. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Cape Rugby TV. That's our handle. Send us your SMSs to 32010 if you want to win those Evox prizes. Of course, Evox is our official supplier. And of course, don't forget the leisure group. Send that word leisure to 32010 and you can win yourself a fantastic prize courtesy of one of those sponsors. Remember, we are looking for your footage. Find us on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Cape Rugby TV. We want to see your photographs, and of course, one of these days we'll start giving you some prizes if you send us those great photographs, but not just yet. Folks, we are working on getting to your games, and we'll get to your games one at a time. Remember now, we are live every Wednesday at 9 o'clock. Don't forget, repeats on Thursdays at 3 p.m. in the afternoon and 11 p.m. My name is JP Naude. Wrapping it up, we'll see you guys live again next week, 9 o'clock, same time, same place. Bye-bye.